Hello, this is Mark, and we are refocusing Barbados after a few weeks being off air. But I want to focus on the budget that was presented this week by the Minister of Finance and Economic Affairs, Honorable Chris Sinclair. And I am trying to characterize that budget. But in looking at the budget, I would say it is self-defeating. This is one budget that does not make sense. And it seems as though we are stuck in a rut, and we do not know how we are going to get out of it. And I'm wondering how much longer we are going to continue with this and expect that things are going to get better. What happened this week, I did not expect. Honestly, I did not expect what happened this week. But what the Minister of Finance did when he touched, he imposed a 2% commission on foreign exchange transactions. That what he has done is just expanded the underground economy even more. People are going to hoard US money. That US money will not go into the system. It will not be available for government, but it will be available for individuals who are going to take it and hoard it. You've just made it harder on the economy to function. And I do not understand how the Minister of Finance cannot see that this is a problem that he will create, of which he will be unable to extricate himself, or we as a people in an economic system will be unable to extricate ourselves. I don't understand also the Democratic Party's policy of attacking diesel prices. And that's one thing ONAVA had done very, very well, was to protect the economy from the ravages of diesel prices. Diesel is the fuel of industry. Anything that leaves the port going to its destination, wherever it is, use diesel. Bakeries use diesel fuel. Transportation is diesel fuel. Your blocks, your cement, your bricks, your stone, whatever. We use diesel fuel. And I don't understand why the government cannot see this and refuse to see it. I mean, start with David Thompson and his nonsense. But how is it you don't understand this? How these key things work within the economy. And if they're not properly adjusted, they can do irreparable damage to the economy. What I see coming out of this budget is something that is seriously inflationary. This is going to create real problems for us. I don't even want to talk about the other increase in taxes from 2% to 10%. That's on the top, and then you add VAT to that. I wonder if people realize how serious this thing is. But that's not the problem, you know. The problem is us. All 270,000 of us. We are the problem, not the government. See, and that's what you get when you employ someone to learn on the job. You can't afford to employ people to learn how to operate an oven, how to bake bread. What can happen? You know how much bread they're going to lose by the time they learn how to really bake bread? Why do we want to do this with our country? And you know, I think we're prepared to make that same mistake again. It seems so. But there was something beautiful that came out of the whole budget debate this week. And it's the former Prime Minister of Finance, the Prime Minister and Minister of Finance and Economic Affairs, Mr. Arthur's response. It was brilliant. I make no bones about it. I'm an Arthur man. I'm an Arthur fan. I saw what he did for 14 years. It was remarkable. And that brain is still as good as ever. And he brought to us and to the people of this country, to Parliament, a different outlook than anybody else within the House. I was amazed at, after that, just how some ordinary people saw it. Just everyday people. And I must say this again and again and again and again and again. Why would we take such a wonderful, brilliant resource such as Mr. Arthur and tell him go home? Why would we do it in a time like this when we are hurting? The man has demonstrated time and time again that he is the class act in the field, that he's head and shoulders above everybody else in Parliament. And we seem content to say to him, Mr. Arthur, man, go rest yourself. You know, in business, we always look for the brightest and the best. As a business, we do that. We want the best. Why business can't decide that they want the best? Why would they go for second best? Like a good friend told me many years ago as a young man, Matt, why would you settle for silver when you can get gold? And why would you settle for gold when you can get diamonds? And you will settle for diamonds, they can get rubies and precious stones? He said, Matt, no, you can't do that to yourself. Why are we doing this to ourselves? We are being cruel to ourselves. Very unkind to ourselves if we allow this man to go home, right? And take all that wonderful knowledge and just let it reside in a house. No, man. This isn't making sense. And he shows that he understands the magnitude of the problem. And he's not coming blowing hot air. He's going to give away this and going to give away that. He's saying this is what we need to do. And he's outlining every presentation he makes. He's outlining the strategy that we need to get ourselves out of this mess. And all businesses are saying, I hear you. I hear you. Can we afford to start another few years of experimentation? Because all they think this is a big experiment. That isn't working. But I want to touch on something. A few weeks ago, I went to the bank one morning to meet one of my employees because we had to get a transaction done very early in the morning. And while we were standing there in line in front of the teller, an old lady, apparently Gemma seemed to be her husband, they came in and they were the next teller, next to us. And the old lady took out a lot of change, quarters and silver dollars and 10 cents and 5 cents out of her bag. And she gave them to the teller. And the truth is, when I saw the old lady with her hat on and the gentleman next to her, I start as a business to start maliciousing. So I was at the teller like this and one eye on for the old lady. And what I realized from the amount of change, she seemed to be they seemed to be shopkeepers. And when she was through with her deposit, then she started to check on her accounts, not account, her accounts. Apparently she had about, they seemed to have about 3 or 4 accounts there. So just listen to the conversation. And she was checking on one account in particular. And she said this to the teller: something isn't right here. I had X amount of money in this account, and I sent X amount of money to my daughter who is in college, and this balance is not correct. So then she was being very quiet and very civil, and I listened intently. And the teller really, he listened to her and he made it right. And I started to think about that old lady with that shop, if she had a shop. How she's educating that daughter. And I asked myself this question: is that old lady educating her daughter to be an employee? Because a lot of shopkeepers sent their children to school, to university and college, and they came back and the shops shut when the old people died or before they died. None of these people who were educated by the shop could not have seen that that shop could have been developed into a mini mart and it could have expanded. And that's one of the things that bothers me. Why are we educating our people? And we got a lot of business people are educating their children to be employees. We can't be business people as black people and educate our children to be employees. We have to make employers out of our children. And we keep making this mistake over and over and over, and we blame the white people for being successful. We blame the Indians for being successful, when they have a different, opposite approach to it. Even if the children don't come back home, the white people children and the Indian children don't come back home to be in their business. A lot of them come back home and start their own business. But we want to tell children, oh, work as hard as I work. I don't want you to work as hard as I work. You see this shop here? I want to see you in here. And the children go to school and they don't have a vision for that shop to see how they can develop. But I've seen shops that became mini marts and mini marts became supermarkets. I have seen that. And so, it's a vicious cycle. Because some of those same men who are educated, they have girlfriends and wives, and they can't, one day they may say to the girlfriends, the wives, sweetheart, I can get this job, I can start my own business. And the wife or the girlfriend hit the road. You gonna do what? How are you gonna get my mortgage paid? How are you gonna pay for my car? How are you gonna send school my children? But you know what they're forgetting? Let me see how we can get it done. The negativity that comes out. And that husband, if he ain't strong, that boyfriend, let me tell you, he can get eaten alive. There's a lot that we have to think about. This is all for this evening. This has been Refocusing Barbados.